Welcome to Resilience Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Ostrolenk. This show is about building better humans, institutions, and systems. On the show, I'll be interviewing many different experts from across many different fields, including human optimization, health and fitness, team building, mind-body medicine. In the institutional space, we're looking at different institutions and how we can create new ones, new models and maps, including in medicine, in education, in intelligence community, in law enforcement, in the military, especially in the special operations community. Thanks for being here and enjoy the show. Today, I'm joined by Danielle Brooks, a leading psychedelic integration expert, author, and mentor with over 20 years' experience supporting deep personal transformation. She's a creator of Revelation Integration Method and has guided thousands of hours of one-to-one integration work, helping people turn powerful inner experiences into grounded, lasting change. Danielle's work bridges insights, trauma-informed practice, and real-world embodiment. Hey, Danny, good to see you.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be here.
That's awesome. Tell me, I obviously want to jump in and have a conversation about the medicine work and what you do there. But I have to imagine it's an interesting path and journey that led you to do this kind of work. What would you be willing and able to share with us about your path and lessons learned and challenges you faced and what led you to become who you are today?
Oh, wow. Hmm. Where do I start? Wow. um, what led me to where I am today, I would say, started, of course, in childhood. All of the experiences that I had growing up. My mom was uh, very much a negative reinforcer. Nothing was ever good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And I got to a point where I was just hated my mom. And that's a very strong word for me, but that's how I felt. And she left when I was very young. And I remember saying to myself, oh, I will show you. I will
Mm.
show you. And that's what started I'll put myself through school. How about now? Am I good enough now? I'll start my own business. How about now? I started a wellness center in Seattle that I owned for 25 years. How about now? No, not yet. Okay, I'll write a book. How about now? Am I good enough now? And so my journey for most of my life has been the journey to enoughness and always striving and seeking and going and doing so that someday I could reach that goal and succeed and be good enough and live happily ever after. And of course, it didn't come using that methodology. And so when I became a nutritional therapist, I was working at the wellness center and I was working with my clients and I was telling my clients to eat their vegetables during the day. And then at night, I would go home and binge on bacon cheeseburgers and French fries and junk food. And I wasn't walking the walk. And so I thought, well, I've got to figure this out. So I went into counseling for 5 years and I met this wonderful counselor who taught me about negative thought patterns.
Mm.
He taught me how to work with my limiting belief structures. He taught me how to process my emotions and let my emotions come instead of feeding, soothing, or avoiding them with food. And my work as a nutrition practitioner increased. It became so much more effective. Then I began to create coaching programs for the National Association of Nutrition Professionals to teach other nutritionists how to work with their clients on emotional eating, how to teach intuitive eating. And so I began to create coaching programs and working with individuals, and I did that for about 12 years. During that time, I dabbled in plant medicine, and plant medicine I found to be a huge catalyst.
Mhm.
I remember the first time I met somebody and it was this young kid. He probably 24 years old at the time, and he was just on fire. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I just got out of an ayahuasca retreat." I'm like, "Oh, I want to do that. I have to do that." I was just drawn to it. And so I did. And that was the first of my path of seeing aspects of myself that were uncomfortable. I saw the pissy aspect of myself that um, I used to talk behind my mom's back when she would walk away. Meh, meh, meh,
Mhm.
meh, 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 meh. Because it was the only way I could retain my power
Right, right.
in a sense. And so I began to dabble in plant medicines for my own healing. And then I was living in a community of entrepreneurs at the time, and one of them was an avid psychonaut. And he asked me, he says, "You know, Danny, you put together a platform using food as a platform for self realization." Because when I would work with people, we would work with the negative thoughts, the limiting beliefs, and the emotions. And when we got through that, people were able to experience who they were beyond those things. And so he asked if I would put together a coaching program using plant medicines. And I was intrigued and I said, "Yes, I'll do it." I went down, experienced their plant medicine protocol, fell in love with it, and then just started working with people. I was immediately thrown into an environment where I was seeing 20 to sometimes 40 clients per week going into and coming out of various medicine experiences. And I began to see patterns and things like that. But so, yeah, that's just kind of how I got to where I am now, I guess.
Really curious on the nutritional side of things, because it sounds the way you described it, it's almost like a vehicle in for psychological change, just like the plant medicine's a vehicle in for psychological change. Like the vehicle in and of itself matters, but it also doesn't matter to a certain extent.
You know, I tried the Atkins diet. I tried the keto diet. I tried
Mhm.
every diet out there, and restricting my food intake did nothing.
Mhm.
It wasn't what was driving me to food, it was the psychological aspects.
Yeah,
Yeah, the food was just the platform. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it was the
and I'm really curious in our culture because we unfortunately don't have a lot of healthy coping mechanisms. And it seems for a lot of people, food or social media, porn, like drugs, alcohol, a lot of choices. And in your work with the nutrition, did you find a majority have some kind of, I hate to pathologize it, so I'm not just like, I don't want to necessarily jump into pathologies, but like unhealthy ways of nourishing their body or relating to food? Or you're drawn more towards like the athlete who just want to optimize their physical condition through diet and nutrition, or what did you
I
see?
work I worked with it all. There was a doctor in the medical building where I was working who worked with Olympic athletes. And so I got to see all of it. But what I found with the individuals, the majority of the population were using food to avoid their emotions. There was something going on in their life that they were avoiding or they were soothing. It might be food was more of an addiction. It was like a pacifier. And in my practice, when I was able to teach them how to sit in the discomfort
Mhm.
and to allow the emotion that they're feeling to move through them and out of them, then they no longer needed to reach for food to avoid the emotion, to suppress the emotion. And so that kind of starts the pattern of being able to self-govern around food because the impulse is strong, right? It's like, "Ooh, I'm feeling this and I want to avoid it." And so being able to just stop and ground and center and balance and breathe through that, whatever that emotion is, even if it means that tears come to the surface. Yeah.
I, I I'm curious. Your training and background in nutrition, do they do much psychological training when it came to like teaching people how to think about and eat healthily?
Mm-mm.
What that might mean.
No, it was all restrictive. It was very restrictive. It was, eat this, not that. This is good. This is bad. This is right. This is wrong. And it didn't give me a psychological foundation at all. Yeah, I got that through my own journey.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like you got that from your own journey. It's unfortunate because I hear the same in medicine as well. There's no psychology, there's no nutrition, there's no fitness, and there's no conversations around sleep or, stress management. It's symptom management through particular medications, unfortunately, for the most part.
Yeah.
Sounds endemic to all medicine or health related fields.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it
So
won't always be that way.
what's that?
Hopefully, it won't always be that way.
Right, right, right. So you had mentioned you had spent some time in Seattle running a clinic, a spa.
It was a wellness center.
Talk a little bit about that.
I originally went to school for physical therapy.
Mm.
I was working as a grocery checker to pay my bills, and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I went back. I put myself back through school, and after I graduated, I was working part time at a physical therapy clinic, and I applied to the physical therapy school. I didn't get in. And so the physical therapist at the time said, Danny, you're really good with your hands. You should become a massage therapist.
Mm.
And so I thought, well, I don't have anything to lose. Why not? So I did. I became a massage therapist. And then they said, well, why don't you just open up your own little clinic over here in the corner? And I said, well, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And they were such great mentors. They were like, sure, you can. You can totally do that. You just get an accountant and you do this. And of course, back then I was doing everything by 13 columns. That kind of ages me, but um, and so I did. And because I had worked in the medical center, I started receiving referrals from the doctors in the building and the physical therapist. And so then my practice began to grow. And then it grew again, and then it grew again, and then it grew again. And it was all through relationship marketing. I didn't do any marketing at all. And, so I had, there was 14 massage therapists at the peak. I had 2 acupuncturists. I had myself as a nutritional therapist and another nutritional therapist that I'd hired. And then we brought on an oncology trained esthetician, to work
Wow.
with, cancer and skin cancer and things like that. And, yeah, I did that for 25 years.
That is awesome, but
Mhm.
now you don't reside in, Seattle. What 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 led you to, like, I guess, close that down and move to a different part of the country?
Yeah, I knew that I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I just knew that that chapter was over, and it was a lot. It was a lot of responsibility. It was, a big payroll.
Mm.
Um, I just wanted more freedom. And so I decided to sell it, which I did at the very end of 2019, just before COVID hit.
Wow, that's just holy moly. Oh my goodness, okay.
I know, and so everybody went into COVID, and I had literally found a place in Seattle being so rainy, I just knew I needed to head to the sun, so I came to Arizona immediately. I rented this beautiful house with a private swimming pool, and then I went into quarantine for 3 months.
That's
It
awesome.
worked out really, really well. And at that time, I also left a relationship, with a wonderful man that, again, I just knew that it was time to move on. And so that's kind of when I went into, kind of I call it the coagulation or the goobering phase, in between the caterpillar and the butterfly, But we do it so many times throughout our lives. It's not like there's this big aha moment at the end, And so I kind of goobered for a while, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so that's where more of the plant medicines came in. And, at one point so I started doing the work with integration
Mhm.
and, fell in love with it and did that for I'm still doing it now, but the peak of it was through the first 4 to 5 years. And that's when I got to start seeing the patterns of healing. Like, what would take me 2 years to help someone nutritionally to get to a point of self-love
Mm.
would take sometimes 1 afternoon with plant medicines.
That's amazing.
And, sometimes there's the holding on to it piece of it that needs to be integrated, and, but these medicines are just really beautiful, powerful catalysts when used appropriately.
Yeah, one of the things you and I talked about offline, and I shared some of my concerns, like the lack of training really for a lot of people who are running these sessions. Like people like, oh, I did ayahuasca on Saturday. I'm a shaman on Sunday, or I did a weekend workshop. Whatever happens to be, which we can definitely have that kind of conversation. But one thing I see missing in a lot of places is like pre-work, the session itself, obviously, but then the integration afterwards. It's like, hey, you've had this amazing, most likely, eye-opening experience. To go back into the world. Like, don't I need some help, some guidance, some chirping through this process? So what led you to have the realization, the importance of like the not only the session, but the post integration?
I think I always did it intuitively with my own journeys. So whenever I would do a journey, I would set aside the time and the space to just be with the information, to let it settle.
Right.
And of course, research, looking at what's actually happening within the physical body with, the neurological system and I just intuitively started playing with it. And of course, I was just thrown into it. I didn't have any training at all. So I just began throwing things against the wall to see what would stick. Yeah. Yeah. And so what I found works the best for, I don't know if I'd say the best, but it's one method, one way
Mhm.
is to just have people take the 2 to 3 days afterwards, after an experience, to let the nervous system settle into its new set point, to let the centers around identity, the default mode network, to, settle down into a new way of being again. Talk about coagulation, right? It's like we were just blown apart in these medicine experiences, the neurological connections. Like this could be a negative thought pattern. This could be a limiting belief. This could be an egoic pattern, or this could be the emotional hairball from our childhood. Well, these medicines go in there and they interrupt those patterns and it gives us a whole new set point. So letting the nervous system settle and establish its new set point is the perfect time to create new habits, new patterns, new ways of being in the world, new ways of relating to ourselves and the world around us. It's really powerful. But when people just go in and they take a journey and then they go back to work as if nothing ever happened, all of those old patterns just reestablish themselves. And they weren't doing medicine, they were just taking a trip. We could say it that way.
Enough. Do you see differences with different types of medicine and what might be needed as part of the integration process and the preparatory process?
Yeah, and it depends on the individual's experience as well. I believe that all medicines can use a preparation phase to set intentions. And intentions are so important. People like, yeah, I'm just going to go in and see what the medicine's going to show me. And that's one way to do it. Asking the medicine, look into my heart, see my heart's truest intention. Show me what I need to see, remove what I don't need anymore. That's a beautiful intention. However, we can set an intention and we can find like I'll have people just tell me about all the stuff. And I'll say, what do you want to let go of? And they'll be like, I want to let go of this unworthiness thing, or I want to let go of this pattern that I've got with my partner. Okay, great. What do you want clarity on? Oh, God, I'd love clarity around partnership or my work. What is my purpose? Okay, great. What do you want to receive? What would you like to start? What do you want more of? And then we'll just start throwing up against the wall. And then we'll reorganize it into a core intention and say, all right, so if we went in and we set the intention to go after unworthiness. Would that take care of this one, this one, this one, and this one? Yes, great. No, okay, let's try a different one. Let's look at fear. If we were to go in and face some fear, see fear as it really is, and really get some courage up, would that do this, 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 and this if you were fearless? Maybe. And so finding that one or two core intentions that can really have the maximum impact can be very, very valuable. teaching someone how to navigate the medicine space, I feel is very valuable as
Mm.
well, because most people think that if I take this medicine, I just need to surrender and then I'm at the mercy of this medicine. And no, these medicines can go dark. I've had clients that have said, I had a, demon come into the space and do this and this and this. And I'm like, no, we can say medicine, no, help me meet my intention in a loving way. People, we don't need to go digging in the trauma anymore, reliving the trauma for these healings to happen. We can process these things in love. And so sovereignty and teaching someone how to be sovereign, how to let go and surrender and exercise their sovereignty if they need to, I think is very, very important. And then
I
just
imagine.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, that was it for the pre-call, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
I
think
was gonna say,
preparation is important.
yeah, I think the sovereignty piece is really fascinating because not only is someone gets it while you're working with them to get into the medicine during the medicine space, but that's a lifelong lesson. If they have the realization that they can do that all the time in normal consciousness, not just non-ordinary states, that
Yes.
translates really nicely to their daily life. Yeah. So pre-work, I think it's really fascinating, and I've heard great things because I've talked to people who work with you. You know how you get such clarity around kind of the themes you want to work with. But once someone is clear on the kind of the hierarchy and the kind of the meta level, how do you actually take that into the work, the session itself? How do you
So
help them stay in guiding through that process, navigating, as you said?
so if it's, someone that I'm working with, let's say with psilocybin,
Hmm?
then and I'm with them, which I don't do very often, I just do that with close friends and family members and word of mouth referrals. But if I'm working with someone individually, then I will let the medicine lead. So I will hold space like a crazy person. Like I am making sure that there's nothing that's going to be interrupting that space or the processing, and I'm there for them however they need it. And then when they come into the landing phase, after they've landed, then I'll have them start talking and narrating exactly what did you experience so that we can capture as much data on the experience as possible. And they might say, I went through this purple wall and I found the box and I did this and I did that. And then and I'll just like extract as much information as I possibly can about the experience itself. And then I'll ask questions. They're coming out of it. There might be sipping a cup of tea. We're just kind of hanging out together. And then I'll say, so now, how do you feel about this whole thing of unworthiness now? And then they'll go, oh, they'll either have some threads on it still, or they'll go, "Pff, what a story. Right.
Mm.
And so I'll just have them visit their intentions, while they're still open and
Yeah.
able to tap into their own knowing and their own integration.
Do you ever find clients who have openings like even the next day? Like, it continually unfolding even though they're no longer under the influence of the medicine, but they're still open
Mhm.
to the experiences that are kind of being digested the day or 2 or 3 prior to?
Yes, for sure, especially when they set aside the time to just be with the information. So I think there's a cycle to medicine work or a rhythm to it, where we set the intentions, right? We have the experience and then we integrate. And integration is where we're letting everything settle, all the bits and pieces that are kind of coming into this new set point. It's where we're revisiting the intentions, we're pondering, we're playing with them, we're asking questions. During that time, I'll have people journal about their experience, and then I'll have them organize it into themes so that the mind can
Mm.
work with it in a different way. And then look at it like maybe a week to 2 weeks later, do another integration call and go, okay, are we still processing? Or what's complete, what's not complete. And if we take what's not complete, then if they're called to the medicine space, they can take what's not complete to the next session, have the experience, and then integrate again. So they're always moving forward or up that spiral of evolution. I think once people know how to integrate, oftentimes they don't even need the medicine to do it. They can go, oh, I just had an altercation with that grocery checker. And that was kind of rude.
Mm.
Right? And I'm in my car and I'm like, "Oh, what did that reveal to me about myself?" Because that's what the medicine does. It just
Yeah.
reveals layers of ourselves to us. So then I can go, "Okay, that revealed something to me about me." And I can sit with it and I can integrate it and I can process it and say, "Okay, what would I do differently next time?" So integration isn't always for plant medicine or
Yeah.
psychedelics. It can be just daily life too.
No, that's awesome. In terms of like the integration, the post-session experiences, do you have any somatic or transpersonal practices that you encourage people to do? Not just help them integrate what happened in the day or 2 or week before, but just, something proceeding forward into the rest of their life to keep the space open and even process real life while it's happening in a
Yeah.
profound way?
Yes, I do. I teach if there's one thing that I'm probably known for is an exercise that I call cultivating awareness.
Okay.
And cultivating awareness is where we like become aware of the sounds in the room,
Mm.
become aware of our body and where our body's located in the room. And this usually begins to kind of quiet the mind and it lands the person more into their body. And they'll go, okay, now become aware of your feet and your legs. Release your belly, feel your arms, tune into your heartbeat, and then I'll have them just be there so that they can experience what it's like to be fully in their body again after the plant medicine experience and help them to just, yeah. Because, there's so many people that are trying to get out of the body. And I'm like, dudes, that's where we're going to go when we die. We're not, I mean, like, we're here. This is
Yeah.
the ride.
I was actually gonna ask you that too, because, in I attempt to integrate the transpersonal and the immanent or the physical and the transpersonal together. And I found like a lot of people, especially when I lived in Austin, are much more into the transcendent. I want to get out of the 3D. I want to get out of my body. I want to get out of this thing and go into, you know, there, whatever there is for them. Yes, there could be benefits for them depending on what experiences they have, but I'm also have concern like, you know, is a spiritual bypass to one degree or another. Like they actually don't want to live in the 3D. They want to live in their body. But they until they die and transition to another life form or whatever the thing is like you're in the body. Like that's where the wisdom, not only, but that's where a lot of the wisdom resides. Do you
Mhm.
find in your work that people are trying to escape the body?
All the time, all the time. And people will chase peak intense states
Yeah, yeah,
because people might have the experience of being in the medicine and they're just like, oh my God, I am unconditional love. I am a God nugget. I am God. That thing that has no words, right? But then when they land,
Mhm.
that intensity is something that then they begin to chase after instead of integrate.
yeah,
And integration, it's not like, okay, I need to go there. I need to go there. I need to go there. Integration is taking that realization, that experiential knowing of ourselves as a God nugget, right? And going,
right,
oh, ground, center, balance, harmonize these energies. So and the physical body adapts. It's really cool because the nervous system literally, like, when we have these intense experiences, if we ground them and we center them and we work with those energies, the body adapts. The physical body actually begins to heal and harmonize. And we might hack up these emotional hairballs and we might cry and we might purge, and we might cleanse through this process. But eventually, over time, little by little by little by little, we get to integrate the mystery,
yeah.
the that which we are.
So with what you just shared, do you find there's like
stages where the psyche opens up to new ways of perceiving and being in the world, and it takes a little bit more time for the nervous system and the rest of the body to catch up to that new way of experiencing the world?
It certainly can. It can go either way. It can be it's different for every individual and every person, but the psyche, that's something new that I'm starting to explore and play with. Um, but it's it's just finding the way for the psyche to not put meaning on what the experience is. There are so many people that are identifying with their revelations.
Yeah.
They're making meaning. This means that I was Isis or that I was Jesus, or this means that I am better than, I'm superior than, or this means something. And the medicine works in so many ways to metaphorically and symbolically. And so I think it's really, really important to have a really good integration guide that's going to go, oh, yeah, baby, you are. You're a God nugget. And so is everybody else.
Yeah.
So is everybody else. Get your ass back down here. Let's do some work, right?
Yeah.
Let's not let the ego attach to it. Let's not create meaning where there's no meaning.
Yeah.
Let's integrate. And silence, I think, is one of the best integrators
I
because,
love that because I've seen psychic inflammation a lot. Like, I am that thing without realizing, like, yeah, but so is everyone else. No big deal, and a big deal at the same time. Yeah, like, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that, kinda like h how the ego can capture the transpersonal
oh,
to a
yeah.
certain.
Oh, and it's so sneaky. Even just recently, I had a revelation. I was just no medicine required. And I was playing with AI and it was literally like revealed to me that like I had still subtly identified with the oh I know it's unknowable, but I know the unknowable. I know the mystery, like I solved the mystery.
Awesome.
No, you cannot know the unknowable. And that's why it's a mystery. So I
Yeah,
had
right.
so subtly even identified with that, like that knowing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Isn't it the Taoist, the Tao that can be known is not the true Tao, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
funny what our minds can do. That's awesome that
mhm,
you had that realization, even medicine free, which
yeah.
is awesome.
Mhm.
So, someone listening to this are like, "Man, she sounds an amazing person to work with." How does that happen?
So they can just go to my website and they can schedule a discovery call with me. They can purchase some sessions with me. Yeah, they can just contact me through my website,
And your website is?
daniellebrooks.com.
Awesome. I'll make sure I include that in the show notes.
Yeah, yeah.
Danny,
And
please.
well, there's one more thing. Well,
Oh, please.
we gotta plug my book.
Please. Share your book.
Okay, well, it's a book on integration, and it's for the general public, anybody who wants to know how to integrate safely and effectively in grounded ways. It'll be coming out in probably towards the end of this month, maybe next month.
Oh, nice. Okay. Is there like a link that I could share you could send me for?
Yeah, I could send you a link.
Okay. All right. We'll make
Yeah,
sure to include it.
and it'll
I-
be on my website too, as well as Amazon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's the title of the book?
Well, it was going to be Divine Integration, a handbook for psychedelic explorers. But now, because it's the Revelation Integration Method, I think that's going to be the main title of it, the Revelation Integration Method, something along a guidebook or a handbook, for psychedelic exploration. Something
I
like
love that. That is awesome.
that. Yeah.
Cool. Congratulations on the soon to be released book. Yeah. Danny, it's great to talk to you.
It's good to talk to you too.